speak
Well,
right now.
let me bring in Ben, who is joining us from our Abuja studio. Ben, I mean, you heard Benga, you really out these figures. I mean, what do you make of the situation? I mean, like you said, we have already 13.2 million children, out of school, and that was from a survey done in 2015. But now that the federal government has decided to declare a state of emergency.
The declaring state of emergency in our education sector is long overdue. But I just hope it's not a lip service, just like what we did in the power sector. Let's not forget that the same thing will happen in the power sector. And the improvement, we've seen little or no improvement in the power sector. But if you look at our education sector, you find that there are so many challenges. Funding is one of them. You look at the budgetary allocation to our education sector. It's not even up to 5% if you look at the figures. And so that tells you the kind of quality of education the children or people who are in school get. And if we can improve our funding, it will go a long way. If you look at in some states don't even have a very good infrastructure. These are one of the problems and challenges we are having. And again, if you look at even the 5% we allocate to our educational sector, almost 2.5% of that percent corruption takes them away. And so we have just little chunk of the budget going into the sector. And it's a big problem for us. And let's not forget, if you look at the developed nations of the world, if you look at how developed they are, and you look at the educational sector, you find out it goes in line. The weight of the education sector determines how fast the economy will grow, how strong they are. And so because the difference between the child on the street or a cart pusher or a local water vendor with a medical doctor is just knowledge. If a local water vendor gets the same knowledge a medical doctor gets, writes the exam and is satisfied, he becomes a medical doctor. What education does is a leveler. It won't really make you rich, but it gives you a level. It gives you a base for you to stand and do whatever you want to do, whatever you want to achieve. You can achieve it as long as you have education. But when we don't give good education to our people, it becomes a very big, huge problem for us. And let's look at. Let me take for example what is happening in Borno. You can see the number of kids out of school. Part of the problems we're having over there is this education issue. People are not well educated. Some of them were not. Some of them even went to the house of wrong people who give them wrong education. And today, look at what we have. We have Boko Haram as a result of wrong education, allowing our children to go into the house of wrong people, and these people teach them what they are not supposed to learn, wash their brains, brainwash them, and look at what we have. We have a monster in our hands. So the quality of our education matters so much to us. And so if this government will have the political will to at least allocate 15%, and not just making 15% allocation, but monitor the money that it goes into our education sector, then I
Yeah,
think we'll begin to see a very
so Ben, as part of
we
the
begin to
things,
experience a very huge progress in that
as
sector
part of the things,
because we
that was
can't do
said.
without education. If we
Ben,
look at
Ben, hello Ben, if you
our
can
technology
Ben,
system, our vocational training in terms of our college of technical colleges, they're almost fading away.
let me hold you there for a second and bring in Jude Farami, who's joining us, I mean, from Abuja, just like you. Let's look at the part innovation can play because lack of education, it has also been, how would I put it now? It has been fingered as one of the causes of poverty in the country. But how
Yeah.
do we use innovation, to try and bridge the gap that we have at the moment? 13.2 million people are children out of school. And I mean, like Ben just said now, kids in the wrong hands, which has resulted in some form of insecurity in the country. But innovation, I mean, is one of the key things that can be used. But how then can that be used to level or bridge the gap that we have at the moment?
Thanks again for having me, Victor. Let me first say that I am sincerely not surprised, and that APC, for example, leading the federal government of Nigeria right now, will declare a state of emergency in the education sector a few months to the election. To be honest with you, I think it's a political gimmick. I've gone through the entire, how should I put it now, the notes on what exactly is the state of emergency. And I don't see a coordinated approach. And I'll make a very good example. When you look at the ERGP, which I will give to the current administration on ease of doing business report, what you notice is that there is an overview. There's like a document that says this is what we want to achieve. And then when you recognize that document, you then break it into what can we do, which is where innovation now comes in and says, okay, in particular aspect, we can use innovation to bridge the gap. But I have not seen that document. It's just 15%, get all the governors together and say, declare state of emergency. What does this state of emergency mean? So because this conversation that we're having is important and I understand the role of media, I think it is very, very important for the government to take that first step. After that has now been taken, we can then go into looking at innovation and the power technology has given to us in this dispensation as a human race. One of the problems is access to quality education. And you look at one project that was carried out by the Osun State Governor, the former Osun State Governor, Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola. There are debates about how well that has played out or how well that affected secondary school.
Which policy are you talking about?
The Okoimo project that was done in Osun State, and giving tablets to students who are registering for WAEC and putting up content there. That is a project that, when you come to access to quality education, you can be able to say, we can make this happen in this space and democratize the entire space.
All right, just hold it for a second. Just hold it for a second. Let me come back to you to just quickly respond to some of the things he said. First of all, Ben talked about how the state of emergency was declared on the power sector, and also he is saying that this declaration, just a few moments to the general elections, is a political gimmick. Do you agree? Quickly.
I'll correct a few things. It's not 5% of the budget, it's 7%. And at the same time, I don't think it's a gimmick so his problem, just issue with the whole setup is that there's no document yet. And when the declaration was made, we were just announcing that the matter will be discussed in detail and the document will be ready next month. Okay, the NEC holds once a month. So that decision was taken at the end of the meeting for this month. Next month, within now and then, I'm sure a document will be put together and Nigerians will have it.
Okay, just hold on for a second. We'll take a quick break and we'll be back in a moment. Please stay with us.